My prayer for you today is that you trust in the Lord, but lean not to your own understanding. In Proverbs 3, 5, and 7, it says, trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not to thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Could it be that it's not that you don't want to trust God, but when you are leaning to your own understanding, it cannot be done in your understanding. You cannot trust God with your understanding. He says, my ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts, which means if you try to limit, if you try to figure this out, if you want to understand a thing from the beginning to the end, then that is not trust. That is not walking by faith. It is not what God has called us to walk in. It is to walk by faith and not by sight. If you are trying to understand a thing, if you are trying to see how all of this is going to work, then you are not really trusting God. You are leaning to your own understanding. Until you make the decision to give up your right to understand everything that is going to happen, everything that God has told you to do. But if you are trying to understand it, understanding that God needs you to have will come. But first, he needs you to just move by faith, not by what you see. Not that you're going to understand everything, but will you trust the Lord? I was reading in Psalms 25, and in the first verse, it talked about how David lifted his soul up to the Lord. I believe if we would take more than just our spirit into prayer, if we would take our soul, our mind, will, and emotions, if we lift it all up to God, if we would trust him, if we would see what is in our soul that causes us to waver. There could be some anxiety, there could be some fear, there could be something that has happened to us in our path that although we really want to trust God, there could be something in our soul that has not been addressed that causes us to waver in our faith. It causes us to have anxiety. It causes us to question. It causes us to not believe. It causes us to be distracted. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart. Lean not to thy own understanding. You are not going to be able to understand all of this. But if you take everything and give it back to God, he's going to give you the wisdom. He'll give you the clarity. He will give you what you need when it's in time. Not before then. Because then if you have it all figured out now, then that is not walking by faith. That is walking by sight. Trust God. Trust him. And if you get to a place you say, Father, I'm struggling. Help my unbelief. That's even a prayer. Help my unbelief. But don't ask for it, and then don't be waiting for him to show you. Let us be obedient in our hearing, that God may get the glory. In Jesus' name, have a blessed day. Have a day filled with purpose. Walk this day out in expectation. Expect for God to blow your mind. Expect for God to exceed your expectations in giving you the clarity, the revelation, the wisdom. Whatever you are in need of, trust that God has your best interest at heart. Sometimes it's hard to trust when we've been so broken and we've been let down and disappointed by so many people. You can get to a place and think everybody out to get you. But God has your best interest at heart.